Hey y'all, it's Kristen from our Donnie farm. And this is step 2 of our rain garden project. So step 1 was identifying the need that it was a problem that needed to be addressed. And we did block it off from the horses a couple of months ago, and you can see that in mud management part 1. So we have blocked it off, and it is starting to green up a little bit out here. We have had a lot of rain in the last week, so things are pretty wet, which at least is good because it's going to show us exactly where the problem areas are while we're starting to build out our rain garden here. So we are in the beginning of March, and our native nurseries just opened, so we were able to go and source some plants yesterday, and so our goal is to get them in the ground today. So we picked up 4 plants for this area plus a high bush blueberry for our emerging food forest. Actually, that one's going to go up by the house, but so we have our main kind of statement tree here that Mark's getting ready to plant, which is going to be our elm tree. This is a hybrid because we wanted something with resistance to the Dutch elm disease, but our plan is for this little baby tree to grow up and reach over the track eventually and provide some shade for the horses, and hopefully as it continues to grow and really gets nice and big and lush, and as it reaches over, a little bit of browsing opportunities for them as well. So we did discuss a couple options for where we're going to place it. We decided that it's going to go right, where is it? So there he is in his little peat pot. And so I said it's going to go up and over the track, hopefully, and let's go ahead and get planting. So the American elm was an iconic tree in major cities where it was planted along roadways to form those beautiful arches. The problem is that it's really susceptible to the Dutch elm disease, and that close planting nearly wiped out the entire swath of these trees. So if you're going to plant one of these trees, choose a disease-resistant tree like one of the cultivars, and then give them some space. I chose the American elm for its beautiful arching habit and its gorgeous yellow leaves in the fall, which I think is going to look fantastic against the purple of our sweet gums. I'm really excited to see him grow. Okay, so we have our next tree up, which the owner of Lady Fern Native Plants introduced me to. I'd never heard of this tree before. It's called the Titi, I think. I'll put the Latin name in the notes, and it is a bog, swampland, kind of small tree, large shrub that gets between like 15 and 30 feet and then 10 to 15 feet wide, and it does really well having wet feet, and we're learning more about it, honestly, and right now we're kind of discussing where it needs to go. We have just planted our elm, who is going to provide shade up and over the track a little bit further down, and now we have this boggy area that we're trying to decide where to place this tree.
All right, so question is how much, is this going to basically be our permanent fence line, or do we rake this down, give them back to the corner again, or? Right,
so I think part of the question is, what are we going to do here? Are we going to put another sand pit, another hard standing area? What do you think is the?
I don't think sand, just with as wet as this gets.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we could add another hard standing like the one off the front of the barn.
Yeah, I mean, we could basically just continue the hard standing.
Like kind of out and around.
Yeah,
making like that. Yeah, I like that idea.
And just bring it all the way to here.
Okay.
Maybe a more...
Almost like a patio, kind of.
Yeah, but also maybe we come in and we, this was what, 4 inches, 6 inches?
The track?
Yeah.
4 inches.
Yeah, maybe we come in and do more just to stabilize all of this.
Well, and this part of the track in particular is like a really high traffic area.
Right.
And we're learning that that's
right.
having issues.
I mean,
whereas the higher parts of the track and track that doesn't get as much consistent wear and tear is doing fine.
Right. So if we do that, if we make this hard standing,
Yeah, which I like our idea. That should be the plan.
then I think we do a nicer fence line along here. Like maybe I don't know what it looks like, but we do a nicer fence line along this area.
But do you want to keep this kind of, I like the arc of it, honestly. Like, I think that if we can keep a swoopy, I want more
Yeah.
swoopies.
Well, yeah, I think that this
It's a
provides
technical
a
term.
nice, like, interesting, like, aesthetic, especially if we take down this fence.
Right.
Now we've got an area where, like, we could eventually maybe dig this out into, like, a more permanent pond feature to collect some of this water.
Which our still plan is to create more of a pathway, like a water pathway from that across to here, right? Like this is going to be a retention pond.
Right.
So I think then we decided that we're going to plant our, what is this plant called?
Titi.
Tie-tie.
T-I-T-I.
T-I-T-I. Tie-tie, Titi, whatever. Really cool looking little plant. He kind of, we'll show you. Wiggly looking.
Feng shui plant.
Yes, very artsy. So I think that is going to now live about where Mark is standing, so somewhere between here and here. And then we imagine a spread, which I'm not good at, by the way, distances and heights, of, so okay, so how big? Almost that area, right? Like just inside those two posts?
What, 15 foot?
Yeah.
So about 15 foot would be, like if we planted him here, it would probably come out to roughly here and then to that key post.
Yeah, so okay, that's what I was thinking.
Maybe, you said up to 30 foot tall.
So about as high as the barn, right? I like it. So these are there, the elm tree's gonna come up over there. Things are coming together. I like it. Let's get to planted. Okay, so we did look it up, and it is pronounced tie-tie. And this cool little plant does not have a super big range. It is limited mostly to the Gulf Coast of the United States, but it is perfect for rain gardens if you live in one of those areas. It does prefer moist soil and grows on the edges of ponds. Okay, so next up on our rain garden list is our Inkberry, which is in the holly family, and based on everything I've read, should be fine with the horses. It does get about 5 to 8 feet tall, so pretty good shrub, and it does sucker, so it will create a little bit of a hedgerow kind of scenario. You do need to have male and female plants to get berries. We only have one currently. We'll plan on adding more. And we decided to place it kind of here to create the back of where we had just decided that we're going to kind of bring the hard standing out and around, so it'll be the background to that hard standing here. We aren't sure what we want to do with this side of this space, which is currently not a horse space, if we're going to save it for a picnic area or whatever we're going to do. So we're going to try to avoid planting anything large on this side. Plus, we want to have visual interest as we walk through here. So if we can plant our taller trees on this side and then our shorter trees and bushes and flowers on this side, we can actually start to see like a little stair step kind of look as people walk by back to the yoga studio. So the Inkberry wants to have consistently moist soil, but it needs to be well draining. So we're putting it up a little bit higher on this kind of like slope that we have so that the water will drain down to this lower area here. But this area does stay wet even a little bit higher up the hill. So I think that'll be a good place for it. Let's get planted. So with all of these plants and the general look of this area, I'm really hoping that this is as wet as this area gets. As we get a few days, Lord, I hope, without rain, this wet area does start to dry out and that quote-unquote pond does shrink down. But we do want to plan for kind of the high water level as we're planting out these plants. The plants that we're planning on putting deeper into the center here are plants that can deal with flooding. And so as things expand and contract and this pond fills up and decreases, we're planning for that when we're selecting our plants for this site. We are taking the time to mark all of these plants with their Latin names, number one, so that we remember, and number two, just so we can have a nice good documentation of what all the plants are that we're using in our habitat. Okay, so our last plant for today is our Aster, It's the hardy Aster. I think the common name also is the New York Aster. So this guy gets between, what was it? 24 and 36 inches, so 2 to 3 feet tall. So perfect for kind of the front side of our rain garden area. So if we're kind of creating that staggered look. So we're putting him in here, and then our plan is to continue to add as, you know, resources allow, which I think horse people know, you know. With money, all things are possible, so we're not there. So going in now, and they are a fall bloomer, so that'll be nice to like start to build out all of our seasonality, and I'm looking forward to watching these guys grow. Okay. So last up in this plant purchase is the high bush blueberry. So that's actually not going to go by the barn, although I do want to eventually add some food type plants out that way. This is actually going to go up by our house, where we're starting to build out a little bit of our kind of food forest, berry nursery. We're not sure what we're calling it yet. But it's going to go up here. This is again, it's the high bush blueberry, which is not technically native to like our part of Virginia. We're a little bit further south in its native range. So after talking with Nicole at the nursery, we kind of opted for a place that's going to get some afternoon shade. So thanks to a good friend of mine, we did a little bit of math and kind of tracked where the sun will be at the peak of summer, and then what will happen with the trees once they leave out. And it was complicated, but I think that this is going to be a nice placement for that, where it will get some afternoon shade to keep it a little bit cooler and kind of mimic that more northern climate. We also have two other blueberries. I think we have a low bush blueberry, and I'm going to look up and see what the other one was. I don't remember. But so this will be our third blueberry here. We're going to keep adding this in, and then we are going to, along this fence line here, as we take out the privet that is currently taking over here, that's another ongoing journey that we're on. This will be replanted with blackberries and raspberries. And so we're going to use the structure of the fence to keep them upright, and we definitely have plans to put some red raspberries out by the horses so they can nibble on the leaves for kind of enrichment grazing, browsing opportunities, getting the tannins, getting, you know, all of that good stuff for them. But this will be for human consumption. That stuff planted out there will be mostly for like the horses and wildlife that we're relinquishing to them. So let's get this high bush blueberry in the ground. So I wanted to mention that this high bush blueberry is actually totally fine in the rain garden and has absolutely stunning fall colors. So it would have been absolutely perfect in that, and I'm still going to sneak one in later. Anyway, that wraps up our garden plan for today. I hope this helps. See you next time.